surgeon, not a psychiatrist.
What planet is this?
You're not of the body.
No. What planet is this?
You're not of the body.
No. What planet is this?
You're not of the body.
Gotta get nasty. I'm gonna leave.
You're not of the body.
Gotta get nasty. I'm gonna leave.
I'm a surgeon, not a psychiatrist.
What planet is this? No. What planet is this?
I'm a surgeon, not a psychiatrist.
You're not of the body. You're not of the body. You're not of the body. You're not of the body.
This broadcast is intended for a mature audience, so that I can swear.
You're listening to The Red Hour, a Star Trek podcast with Rusi Offenwrong Kapadia.
And Colin Harcourt Fenton Mudd Campbell.
So, so we're audio only. So, Rusi, don't do anything visual.
All right, fine. So
Eh.
is this the beginning?
I don't know. I guess in a way, it depends. Are we gonna start right now, or are we gonna watch the? Is it already doing in the background? Engineering.
Okay, fine. Let's just do the audio.
Let's just do the.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right. So Campbell, it is the Red Hour,
Yes, that's true. Yes.
and it is okay. This is the last episode.
Yeah.
And what episode is that?
Makes me sad. I don't know. I had a lot of mixed feelings going into this, and I'm definitely emotional now that it's over. And yeah, again, Turnabout Intruder is not the best way to end it. What?
Yeah, well, it's a perfectly fine episode. But okay, let's go over.
You're paused for me. Is Rusi paused for you, Phil? All right, so that's good. But it's a very flattering pause. Looks like he's about to say something really important. So, but I'm sure, were he with us, what he would say is the plot of Turnabout Intruder sees them arrive on the planet Camus 2. There's apparently a crisis with their archaeological expedition, and there's been a radiation leak. And they beam down to find one Dr. Janice Lester, kind of unconscious, and her doctor by her side. It's still that Kirk. Keep going. It's revealed
Janice.
that they know each other, if you know what I mean. Like,
I
knowing.
can see you again.
I don't blame you.
Your world of starship captains doesn't admit women. It isn't fair.
No, it isn't. You punished
Life
and
isn't fair.
tortured me because of it.
Torture.
This broadcast is intended for a mature audience.
I loved you. We could have roamed among the stars.
We'd have killed each other.
And the old swapperoo. The old Freaky Friday. The old Turnabout Intruder.
Knowledge of the captain's aberrant behavior is spreading through the ship.
I hate
The crew is
Turnabout
becoming
Intruders.
increasingly tense.
You are closer to the captain than anyone in the universe. You know his thoughts. What does your telepathic mind tell you now?
Was it good for me?
I believe you.
Thanks a lot, Spock.
First Officer Spock has been placed under arrest. He has conspired with Dr. Lester to take over the ship from your captain. A hearing will be immediately convened to consider the charges and specifications of a general court-martial on the charge of mutiny.
Can you tell me why Dr. Janice Lester would agree to this ludicrous exchange?
Yes, to get the power she craved. To attain a position she doesn't merit by temperament or training. And most of all, she wanted to murder James Kirk, a man who once loved her. But her intense hatred of her own womanhood made life with her impossible.
It is mutiny! Deliberate, vindictive, insane at its base. A mutinious charge and encouragement to mutiny. Dr. McCoy, Mr. Scott, you heard it?
Doctor, I've seen the captain feverish, sick, drunk, delirious,
Some
terrified,
sideburns, Scotty.
overjoyed, boiling mad. But up to now, I have never seen him red-faced with hysteria.
Poor
I
choice
know
of words, Scott.
how I'm going to vote.
I've been through this with Spock. He's not being scientific, neither are you.
It may not be scientific, but if Mr. Spock thinks it happens, then it must be logical.
Don't you think I know that? My tests show there's nothing wrong with the captain. Now, that's the only fact Starfleet's going to be interested in.
Headquarters has its problems, and we have ours. And right now, the captain of the Enterprise is our problem.
We're talking about mutiny, Scotty.
Mutiny.
Aye. Are you ready for the vote?
Some good acting on the dude's part.
Yes. I'm ready for the vote.
Kill him! Kill him! Go!
Oh, it all falls apart.
I've lost to the captain. I've lost to James Kirk. I want you dead. I want you dead. I want you dead.
That outfit is not doing you any favors.
I'm never going to be the captain.
There. Great carnage. All right.
Okay,
So-
can you guys see me? I'm back.
Yes, you are back, Rizzy. Do you feel back?
Yeah.
So-
Okay. So Campbell, I guess the synopsis has been taken care of.
Well, kind of. We got the visual synopsis. So, but as we can see, Dr. Janice Lester conspires to assume the body of James T. Kirk and tries to take command of the ship. And she, you know what? She does pretty well considering the ridiculousness and complexity of her task. She gets much further than she should, but she's, of course, inevitably found out by the crew and everyone because it's somewhat obvious. And eventually they get transpossessed or retranspossessed, untranspossessed, I should say.
Yeah, I guess it's like a realistic version of a body swap where you try and assume someone else's identity, and you're found out within 10 minutes, which is
I take issue with your use of realism, but
yeah, it takes away some of the tension of the episode. But I guess it's realistic. Captain Kirk is theoretically, a highly trained, skilled captain, and this woman who's trying to impersonate him doesn't know anything about him for the last 20 years.
Well, no, that's not true, obviously, because it's clear that she's done research. It's clear that she was also in Starfleet.
Well, she's done research on the Enterprise, but I don't know.
I'm sure she's done tons of research on him. After all, she had to, she knew where his, after all, she was able to somehow arrange for it to be the Enterprise that came and rescued her. That was never explained, but that's no mean feat.
Okay. So before we get into my feelings on this episode,
you're wrong. Sorry.
Slow walk me through that the Janice Lester plan, because I don't really understand. At the beginning, a bunch of people are dead. She caused them to be dead.
Yeah.
For what purpose?
To basically draw the Enterprise, but I basically, yeah. But also, it's she's also, I don't want to be too like Clive Bruckman's Final Repose, but the reason she killed them is because she's a homicidal maniac. I think that's also the thing. She's quite clearly crazy, training and preparation and research, or no. So that was her biggest mistake. The fact that she chose to be crazy. Totally cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Crazy town.
If there is a flaw with this episode,
what are you talking? Oh my god!
It's the plot is a little bit. I didn't fully follow. How she put her plan into action exactly. They were scientists on a planet.
You're overthinking this, Rizzy. It's not like you.
Well, anyway, okay, fine. I guess this one just perplexed me a little bit because normally I can fill in the gaps, but this one I just didn't fully understand.
No, anyway, it's not really made clear. It's not. We're supposed to guess, but we're not given a lot of information, and yeah, there are huge parts of her plan that obviously needed work, and I in fact have questions about how it all played out and what you think happened. For instance, like what was physically wrong with Dr. Lester. A, to begin with, B, after the body transfer, you know? Because she was like, she was obviously just like, pretending to be like unconscious at the beginning. She was like, and like, pretending to be, but then later, the second Kirk becomes Lester and vice versa. He's all of a sudden, he's just like overwhelmed by the body transference, by the shock of being somehow in the frame of a young woman, or like
that's what we're supposed to assume, and that somehow he doesn't get as overwhelmed the second time around. Yeah.
Anyway, I think that was poor and not well explained, and I have considerable questions. But that's not obviously the core of my.
That's true. Like the other problem is that so first of all, Janice Lester's plan revolved around a couple of very chance things.
Yeah, exactly.
So one, that Kirk would be left by himself with her. And then, because they get drawn away. Because they're like, we detect life.
That was the purpose of the other people, I guess. The dead people was to draw them away so that to basically act as a distraction, to divide and conquer and separate the landing team, I guess. Hypothetically. I mean, if we're to reverse rationalize it.
Yeah, it doesn't make
so,
sense.
I mean, again, it was a dumb plan, but we can't really fault it because it worked.
Yeah, that's a good call. But okay, she relied on them leaving Kirk with her by himself. And then she relied on Kirk wandering over to that alien artifact.
Which is, again, a long shot, but it stands to reason given the fact that it's like such an obvious thing. And she knows Kirk, and she knows that he would have no ability to resist investigating this obviously weird device.
Yeah,
so
And again, all this had to happen before they got back.
Yeah. So, there's a series of long shots.
So long shot. So I mean, I guess the most implausible thing about this episode is that Kirk would be such a poor judge of character that he would have ever dated this Janice Lester person.
That is a fantastic plot hole, because it's like, I mean, obviously, what this is meant to represent is like an entirely toxic relationship that just like went too far, and the other person's like way obsessed and like, totally at the, fatal attraction stage of just, wanting to like either be with the other person or kill them or both or whatever, and we're supposed to believe that for some reason, whatever, maybe these things kind of happen. Maybe they went out for like at least a tiny bit of time, but like it seems like he would have been able to smell the crazy even at that early stage, because among other things, she's insanely power crazy and ambitious, but maybe Kirk didn't notice it for that reason. Maybe that's what they share in common. That's the thing, because like they both had the same ambitions and desires. They both wanted to command a starship.
I mean, I thought present day Kirk handled her well, like as well as you can handle someone who's crazy town. And that, like, when he sat down with her,
you mean
sort of like,
prior to the body swap?
Prior to the body swap, he was like,
he had a good bedside manner.
He had an excellent bedside manner, and he did not like antagonize her, because she was like, I loved you, and he's like, well,
yeah, sorry,
he moved on. He was not like, oh, me too, for sure. It was real what we shared. So I like that, and I like the fact that he made a joke, and he was like, oh, we would have killed each other, as she was like talking her psycho crazy desires. But anyway, so okay, before I get into my feelings about the episode, it's kind of an interesting like idea and plot, because I guess characters like this, they're more complex than you normally see in Star Trek.
What characters like what? Like Janice Lester?
Like Janice Lester. She's not a villain. She's not.
I mean, that's a specific choice not to read her as a villain, because she's quite clearly a villain. Because she all she wants is her own specific objective, and she's clearly willing to kill indiscriminately to achieve it. So by all accounts, that's a villain.
Okay, I guess, but I mean, the thing was, being into power, that's one thing, but her specific thing, all the sort of hang-ups she has about being a woman. very specific choices they made on this character.
Yeah,
you know? Like,
yeah,
obviously-
that's a very complimentary way of putting it.
they were obviously trying to explore like a character they thought might exist.
Yeah, and again, it says a lot about the writer as well. This is what someone thought goes on in the brains of women, and my whole thing is like I try as hard as I can not to read it as like that person's like personal socio-political or gender-based axe to grind, but it's really tough not to read it as just kind of blatant judgment of the feminist movement as a whole and women, if not either directly, then at the very least indirectly, because of the basic core supposition at the heart of the episode, which is, by the way, in the future, women are not allowed to command a starship. It's just against the rules for whatever reason. You can join Starfleet, you rise up the ranks, but for some reason, in the rules, it's just there's like a glass ceiling or something, and women are incapable of commanding a starship because of reasons presumably related to their reproductive organs. And that's what this whole episode relies on, and that's where it loses me. And it tries, it might, it can't really get over that. But what's your take on that? I mean, like, and the fact that it's not really addressed.
I agree in that sense that Rusi's point comes to bear, which is, oh, maybe she's not a villain. She's like trying to do something that women can't. She's like fucking
absolutely,
the system,
there is that reading, yeah. But the fact remains that it's true. I completely empathize with her motive, because she happens to be like she's fighting a cause for that she believes in, and she's fighting the system, which is by its own rights unjust. It just so happens that the means she's willing to go through go to reach it are homicidal.
The killer line in that is where she goes, where she hated her femininity so much that it became toxic. You're like, oh my God. I only ever hear that from the most fucking toxic people in the world, where it's like, oh man, a woman with strong arms, she must hate being a female. Like, and you hate you hate females for glorifying women with strong muscles. Like that's the real anti-feminism. And you're like, what the fuck? Like, this show like leaned hard into that. And I was like, oh Jesus, ouch.
And it's tough, right? Because there's that to me, that thing that always sticks in my craw at the heart of it. And it leads me to the problem of knowing that there's like two basic ways to read Janice Lester, because obviously she's like, an embodiment of like the worst toxic ex-girlfriend you've ever had. But it's like whether or not you want to read it as purely being a reflection of her, or whether or not it's like a broader reflection of women as a whole, because of presumably their ovaries and hysteria. They can't be trusted. They're far too emotional, and they will, if given suitable authority and power, presumably destroy the universe and all inherent systems within. And I can't tell which way to read it out of those two things. Is it like is like she's just crazy because she's psycho, or is it she's crazy because she's a woman who didn't realize her place and her role in the universe, and to be honest, I don't have a clear sense of which way to lean.
You're trying to see a difference, but like you have to sit in the writer's mindset, which is there is no difference. A hysterical, like a woman who doesn't accept being the limits of being a woman.
Yeah,
is
that's the inherent problem.
And crazy, and therefore prone to violence.
Yeah, that's the problem.
And that's how they write it, like so they're like, oh no, any woman who wants to become prime minister would clearly fucking kill any one of us in this room. They're crazy, So that's
look at their eyes.
Yeah,
they don't value human life the same way we do.
There's something implausible about the way you guys are reading this, because they had
the lines are right there in front of you.
Yeah, but they had episodes where,
they've had episodes. They've had episodes that contradict that ethos.
They've never had a female captain.
This episode exists.
Well, they've had female, like on the court-martial episode. Is there not one of the people is female who's judging Captain Kirk? I can't remember.
Look, obviously it violates a lot of Star Trek has contradicted since.
You understand that many other people have written this show.
Yeah.
And some writers will be progressive, and some writers
I don't understand.
are totally not fucking progressive. And this writer clearly imagined women to be so incapable as to, this
Well,
all this nonsense.
the story was by Gene Roddenberry. So
Yeah, no, that fits. I mean, he's the same guy that had he started the pilot had commanders being the highest rank, or women are not typically allowed on the bridge type of shit, you know.
And that was weird. That was weird at the time, you know.
His pilot had a first officer who was a female.
Yeah, but and that has to be couched with two additional facts. One, the fact that sure she was a commander, first officer, but you know that's a far cry from being captain.
But
which
they
still could have been
specifically
against the
mentioned
rules.
that she's not allowed to be a captain.
Yeah,
even in that episode.
And two, Pike specifically mentions that he's not familiar with it, indicating that even that represents a new type of change that Starfleet is seeing, you know.
Well,
So
what about the Enterprise incident when
Rusi, guess what? It contradicts, but guess what? We're dealing with this episode, and within the context of this episode, it seems to suggest that in the eyes of this writer, there are no women Starfleet captains.
Here's what I suggest. Okay, you guys could be right. You guys could be
no,
right.
Rusi.
Or Janice Lester believed that she was discriminated against because of her sex.
Okay. So are you saying that there is no actual?
Kirk did not disagree with her. Kirk didn't say that's not true. He's like, obviously, and you took it out on me.
No, but if somebody comes up to you and starts saying it's the patriarchy, you don't disagree with them. You're just sort of like, yes, it's the patriarchy. That's why.
But your supposition is not supported by the evidence.
But you seem to be disagreeing that it is the patriarchy. You're saying there is no patriarchy.
No, what I'm saying is there are episodes in Star Trek where
yes, but we're not talking about other episodes. We're talking about this one.
No, I'm giving you the full evidence. There are episodes where women are shown in positions of power, and in this episode, there's one woman who says, "I could not be captain because I'm a woman." That could just be her opinion. It's true that no one disagrees with her, but
oh my God,
why would you disagree?
So honest, is that your for real reading? Is that what you're going for the record?
Because we've not seen any women captain. We have not seen any women captain. We have not seen any women captain. We have not seen any women captain.
No, Rizzy, but as usual, I'm going to give you information that you're not going to even believe because you don't believe in research. But we actually do have the official position of Gene Roddenberry because he did weigh in on this, and at the time of the writing, he objected to the fact that the writer suggested that this should be, that there should be this rule, and that Roddenberry is on the record stating that he would like it to be, the case that that women could be captains, but apparently, that's just it. He's still presumably the head honcho in the who's ultimately calling the shots, but he chose not to override the writer of this episode's choice, and in doing so, he's basically he's ceded his responsibility as far as I'm concerned, because it's all very well and good to say that after the fact. He's like, oh, I did my best, but everyone knows that he ultimately was in control, But the point is, this episode got made, and he was on record saying that he thought it was dumb to not allow women to be captains. But not to the point of actually changing the episode, and I want like everything else we've been saying for this season, what do you want to do? It's because they fucking knew they were canceled, and they're just getting them done at this point, Maybe maybe the spirit was gone. Who knows? Although having said that, obviously this episode takes a hit on the writing, but all the performances contained therein, I can't fault them for that because all of them are super solid. Everyone does a super job. Yeah, everyone does but anyway, yeah. But that's my basic problem with it, and that's why but that was the Gene Roddenberry position, contradicting your position.
Well, no, Gene. That's just sort of
that's just what is stated. That's just what you believe.
No, but I'm just saying, as a viewer, there are two interpretations. But
oh my God!
And my interpretation makes more sense because there are other episodes.
Wait a second.
No. Okay, Rusi, your interpretation is sort of adapted by fandom, especially in for new Trekkers who have seen the sequel prequels and whatnot, saying stuff. But let's not forget what the intent of this episode is. And that was specifically that women are not capable of being captains.
That seems pretty cut dry. It seems pretty tough not to read it that way.
We have completely as far as, lore is concerned, we have retconned the shit out of it. But the intention of the writer, the intention of this episode is to say that. And sure, let's retcon it. Let's say she's just crazy. But that's not what the episode is about.
Damn straight. And that's just it. Like all war crimes, this has to be addressed. We would like it to be different, but we can't deny our history, and we can't deny the crimes that were committed in the name of Star Trek. And and this is unfortunately topical.
All right.
But whatever. But it's only by admitting our past sins that we're able to move on, and it's only by uncovering the metaphorical infant graveyards.
Oh, for God's
so
sake!
to
I
speak,
knew you were gonna bring that up.
that we're able to move on. And yeah, this episode
anyway,
seems to be.
It was, I guess, so poorly conveyed that I never saw it that way. Obviously.
Come on, Rizzy.
No, come on.
Come on.
No,
I refuse to believe.
No, Colin. I mean, honestly, like if this had been such an outlier, it would be constantly referenced.
It is. It was voted the fourth worst Star Trek episode ever.
Yeah, I mean that doesn't mean that, like, you know, people are constantly bringing it up as Gene Roddenberry doesn't believe women are equal.
I mean, no one's saying that outright except for me. I'm saying he dropped the ball, but that's very much a personal choice, and obviously my additional axe to grind, because like I consider the same of true of Gene Roddenberry, that he must be held to account, and all of the various recriminations against him brought to bear for his contribution to be accepted, you know. And I think he's definitely got some good work and contributed to a much greater whole. But we cannot, let's say, rewrite history based on what we're comfortable with.
But I will point out that, like, at least the actors didn't go along with it to a certain degree. Because I mean, when Kirk is talking about Janice Lester, he says that, like, she wanted the position that she was unsuited to by her temperament and training, or she didn't merit it. Like, he was not saying that. He was not saying, like, because obviously she's a woman, she can't have it.
But I mean, it's true. He wasn't saying that. But I think that the reason he wasn't was because that was pretty much understood explicitly.
Temperament was the key.
But why
word.
wouldn't he say it if it was literally like the reason?
Because it's already in the rules, and it doesn't have to be.
Do you want to take my body because women can't be captains? Like,
I mean,
why didn't he say that?
Honestly, if you're fighting the basic idea that that's not what the episode was saying, that you're saying that the universe of that episode is one where Starfleet has women captains,
but
then
listen, as you know,
I can't do anything for you.
As you know, IMDb doesn't exist for me. I only see what is in the episode, and in the episode, based on the way Kirk and others act, and previous episodes.
Based on,
I know you can say this episode has to stand alone because it had its own writer, but again, I don't believe in the IMDb world. Only what's on the screen. And this is if you look at all the episodes of Star Trek and you see this one,
I
you're gonna be like, okay,
I disagree.
Well,
you don't see women captains, and also like it goes along with the women are capable of more terror and fear and all that bullshit.
It's true.
It completely follows the pattern
books.
of Star Trek.
No, but
Phil, up until that point.
No, but Phil, what about the Enterprise incident? There was not just a captain, but a fleet commander who was a female.
Who's a Romulan, not human.
And so what? So.
Okay. The point is that's all very fine and well, but it doesn't say anything outright about the Federation.
I mean, like, T'Pring was like the top sort of Vulcan representative to the Federation.
First of all, that's purely a ceremonial and religious role.
No. She got in a mock time.
Whatever.
She got the mock.
Like alien races are always supposed to be the extremes of whatever.
Exactly.
The humans have always been human females have always been kept in low roles.
The point is, you're bending over backwards, Lucy, in order to rationalize your specific narrow reading of this episode, which is completely counterfactual. And I don't think anyone in the history of Star Trek has ever had that particular take. So I applaud you for that.
Okay. Well, welcome to new history then, Cam. Because how come Kirk does not say in the court martial, or not the court martial, in the mutiny trial? How come he doesn't say she wanted to be captain because she can't because she's a woman?
I think it's pretty well stated throughout the whole episode. It's stated outright. It's stated
your evidence can't be his sentencing. No,
that's what he says.
Your evidence that he didn't say it exactly like outright is not evidence at all. Like she said earlier that the captains are not allowed, and he's like, "Yeah, you're right."
Yeah, it's pretty much stated.
Like
it's stated outright.
He never said. No one ever said yes. You're right.
Yes, he did. He said yes, and you took it out on me.
No,
he said yes.
No, he never said that.
Oh, Russi, come on.
See if I can line that up for you there, buddy.
Russi, he's going to cue it up and just make an embarrassment of himself. But Russi,
you can cue it up. He does not agree to that. That obviously when they were dating, she wasn't captain material anyway. He wasn't even captain material by then.
Russi, you can argue whatever you want, and you can have whatever creative and embellished interpretation you want, but you're not allowed your own set of alternative facts. Unfortunately, is what the historical precedent is up at this point.
I'm just putting my evidence up against yours. Yours.
Yeah, the evidence of what? The evidence that
your evidence that this rule in the Federation exists is what Janice Lester said. My evidence is that Kirk never said that when he was on the trial. He said that she didn't merit that position because of her skills.
I can't believe you're going with this.
That's what I'm going with. I mean, I'm using the evidence in the episode. You may be reading something on IMDb.
No, but there's no. But you're trying to draw a conclusion that is complete. Anyway, I can't. Oh my god, I'm gonna have to take an Ativan and relax for like 20 minutes before I can even go back to this.
Disagrees. Let's get off this topic and go on to the next thing.
What about the other aspects of the episode? As usual, I think Spock is the standout.
What? No, I thought Scotty was the standout.
Well, I was going to say Captain Kirk is the standout.
What?
This is when he like totally like lay his like lungs on the stage.
You mean
this is
Shatner?
like him completely going back crazy in the.
No, he's done this
like
several times.
This is the most Shatner he ever gets. In the whole
series.
He is
okay,
Pete Shatner.
And that's the problem.
No, he's Pete Shatner. There's no question.
It's true. Yeah, no, it is, and that's just it. Like you said, there's a lot that goes into an episode, and there's a lot of people contributing, and the writer has their take. And specifically thinking about this, I wondered how much the cast took it upon themselves to like alter the direction of the writing. But honestly, what it ultimately reveals, and what we have to read from it, is like this is what Shatner thinks the mind of a woman is like, and I appreciate the nuances that he put into that, in terms of like their acting choices, in terms of creating a very distinct way of acting that separates it from all his performances up until that point. But it's just like I can't help but cringe at all of his specific choices. Everything down to like filing the nails, to like the sort of the cutesy way he was talking, to like his poise and demeanor. It was kind of embarrassing, and the whole thing made me uncomfortable. What did you think about it?
Well, I fucking love all the Kirk stuff. There's like a million things that you can quote here.
I know that's what occurred to me. Like the fact that like most of the Kirk lines in this episode are among your personal favorites, and I think it's funny that like you always reference Kirk, but you always reference Kirk at his like most irrational and at his least compos mentis, I guess, basically.
Yeah. I mean, this is like Cisco when he plays Duran. It's like this is sort of like the side of Shatner that shows that he would be like a successful serial killer or something. He's just like he's truly psychotic. He's truly psychotic in like one sense.
I mean, it's weird it's like that you should draw that. So, but again, it's like it's one of those weird cases of us seeing the same thing. Well, we have two entirely different takes.
I mean, Campbell. In fact, I even like thought of Nicolas Cage at one point when he was doing the transference, and he goes like this. He does the face-off thing.
and
so, but the question is like it's like that episode of Community. Is Nicolas Cage the worst?
I never saw Community.
It's difficult to know.
It's difficult to know. It's difficult to know. Is it
Campbell,
Shatner?
You need to watch fucking Community for starters.
I know. I've been said.
Is Nicolas Cage a good actor or a bad actor? It's a similar thing. It's a similar issue. It's like he's so intense. I
see what you're saying, and I agree with
individualistic.
As a mechanism.
He's so unique that it's hard to say. That like. I mean, you might say that he's not a good actor because he's just insane and he's playing himself. But equally, like it's so impactful and leaves such an impression that part of me is like, this energy is what keeps the captain so memorable.
You're right about that, and it's like it's definitely true that like whatever it is that he does, however you want to describe it, he does it to the degree that like the only way to describe it is by using his name as an adverb, basically. Yeah, and
I mean,
it's like
there are definitely parts that are better than others.
To Shatner it up,
like that whole scene where he loses control in the court. That's good, especially like the subtle sort of reactions from Scotty and Bones. But the falling over while losing consciousness because his soul or whatever is being ripped off.
And the whole when like he goes against the wall and he just kind of rolls around and like I know it's whatever, I don't know, maybe it's just like the another life that I could have been a performer, and for some reason like think about myself in that role, and I know for a fact that when he did that, when he was doing that, he thought it would look so good, but for some reason, you know, it does not really translate or convey what he intended, and it was just such a poor choice of him doing the thing that he always has to do, is like, okay, all right, Bill, for this next one, we're going to want you to act as though your mind is being, I don't know what you, and what was the other thing I want to say is like the other thing that always bugs me about this episode is the same thing that bugs me about, I don't know, every time Star Trek does this, where it's always like the case of person X isn't really person X, they're person Y, and they body swapped, or maybe there's two of them and you can't tell which one. And all you want is like, you know, a reassuring scene where Kirk's like, you know, or Kirk's mind is like, you know, Spock or Scotty or you know, Bones. What about that time we, you know, such and such, and did anything, and something that immediately conveys beyond a shadow of a doubt that it's them. And Kirk tries to do it, and he fails by not citing specific enough stuff. And all of that time that he's with Majel, and it just, I don't know, is he confused because he changed her hair color, or is it like, has he really had so little interaction with her during the whole 3 years of their mission that he has no specific knowledge of her that can prove that he's who he says he is instead of Dr. Lester, you know? And that's all you want in those situations. You just want the other person to just, come on, just do it. Just come on. And when they don't, it's it's a huge frustration.
Or like a meeting at the end of the episode being like, okay, this has happened for the last fucking time. We're going to put some protocols so that anytime you think one of us might be replaced by someone else, you have to fill out a form or something like that. But we're doing this because holy shit, this happened too many times.
And for Christ's sake, next time there's a duplicate or multiple duplicates and you're in a fight, when I say, 1, 2, 3, go, you just like drop. And then like I could just phaser everyone else. And that's all we have to do, all right? From now on, we'll never have to deal with this issue again.
Let's not go nuts. It's only happened twice before to Kirk.
It's going to happen, but it's going to happen again.
One time he was split in two, but that's different. I'm not talking about the one where he gets split in two.
Yes,
the one where Garth pretends to be him, and again he doesn't just say,
I know.
What about that one time we touched each other?
I know, and it's so frustrating.
And then there's the one where he's made into a robot. But the one where he's made into a robot, that one, the robot gets complete.
It had all his knowledge, so that wouldn't have counted.
It had all his knowledge, so there was no way.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I know, naturally. Yeah.
So, so basically it's like he's 0 for 2, which is like, in any case, like, he sort of like tried to like explain to Spock, and you can see he got irritated. He's like, okay, nevertheless, Spock, just fucking mind read me.
And which is good, but it's like, it's weird that he had to suggest it, right?
Man, that scene was so intimate. Like, there's no one in the universe who knows you, who knows Kirk better than you. You know how he thinks. And
yeah, it's like, it never occurred to me to read it on that sexual
level. And then the whole
before.
music, like it gets to like that sort of beautiful and like that touching, and then there's that sigh she gives when he takes his hand away, and I was just like, yes, this is where all that fanfic comes from.
Shit, I never even noticed that. I gotta go rewatch this. I was definitely half-assing it.
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised. that that Kirk just sort of says like, yeah, you are definitely like my absolute best friend. No one knows me better.
Basically, soulmate. He basically asked Spock to look in his soul, and their love would find a way.
But it's actually interesting though, because this is, and I forget about it occasionally, but this is the second time that Spock is like
mind melded Kirk.
Mind melded with Kirk. So. Man, they really do share a lot. There's like no fucking like hidden agendas anymore between them. Like he literally knows fucking everything about that.
That's true. I mean, although obviously, yeah, it's not as played up quite as much as it was in TNG, where like Kirk and Sarek mind melded, and it was like they might as well have been brothers after that,
Yeah, but Sarek was crazy when he did it, right?
True, but aren't we all?
No.
Do you think a mind meld would like? Do you think in real life like a mind meld would destroy a friendship? I think it would be
I think
possible to mind meld.
I think it's a mind meld probably would, because I mean it doesn't take anything nearly as dramatic as a mind meld to ruin a friendship. Yeah, and let's not forget, like every friendship is comprised of like the stuff you say to someone and the stuff you don't say to someone, right?
Well,
I mean,
what are you saying, Campbell?
I'm saying God knows if Rusi knew this stuff. No, actually, that's not true. I pretty much said it to his face.
Yeah.
No.
You're pretty fucking honest.
You could have like a sort of like.
But in theory, there's tons of secrets.
No, but you could have like a perfunctory sort of like friendship where, you go.
Where you never bother to get to know them, or like memorize facts about their life, or care about their opinions, or validate their experiences.
Let's not sidewalk you on this one.
I was trying to sidewalk you, actually.
Campbell, what I'm saying is they're definitely like friendships which like rely on routine, and even knowing exactly what the other person is going to say does not lessen this sort of enjoyment of the interaction. I can see that those friendships may not be perturbed by it, but the sort of like, I guess, more complex friendships will rely on it being at least possible to be surprised by what the other person says at some point or other. But if you mind meld them, it's like man, there's like I know. Well, I guess. For a while, anyway.
So what you're saying is like
but you could be friends after a while. Like,
you can be you get to know them so well. You just be like, yeah, I knew you were gonna say that. What the fuck's the point of this anymore? Let's not hang out. I know exactly what you do about anything. You're basically with me all the time, anyways. Fuck off.
But let's not forget, like a mind meld, having someone in your brain space could do so much benefit, because, like, at the end of the day, they'll know everything you do, but they won't necessarily be subject to the same biases and massively complex palaces of denial that you've built up for yourself of stuff that you're training yourself not to see. And in any given person's life.
Rusi's honest opinion isn't going to help me with anything.
No. I mean, I think Rusi is actually shallow enough in his relationships that a mind meld wouldn't actually affect things, because it would be like, it's like, I don't think there's that much going on to disrupt, It's like...
Or like, if I did get mind melded, then I would be like, okay, starting tomorrow, I'm going to get like hardcore into Morris dancing. So like, they're not going to know anything about this new fucking hobby I've got. And I can like come at them from a new angle.
I mean, that's interesting.
But I mean, like a friendship, like all the interactions, like are based upon like the use of an imperfect language, to sort of like joust with the other person. But if you know everything, it's like, man, what is the fucking point?
No, anyway. I mean, you raise a good question, but I mean, you raise a good point. I want to. Well, maybe not.
Kirk is so dynamic that like he's like a cauldron that is constantly like brewing new ideas and new thoughts. So like the next day, there's new stuff. There's new like layers to that onion that Spock can sort of like go after.
This weird temple that you see him intent on building to Kirk. It's I really I don't know. I feel like I should have been taking notes, because it's going to be useful later on when deciphering all of the things that you feel you lack as an individual, and all the stuff you feel you need to get from Kirk.
It's not really going to be useful.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I'm still hoping for this podcast to segue very organically into therapy, but anyway, I don't want to reveal too much. I've got some hidden stuff down the line.
It's a very gradual and slow play, I can tell.
Exactly, so much so that Lucy won't even notice until like
years, 10 years later.
What am I doing on this ottoman? We should be so lucky, by the way.
Yeah,
but anyway,
then in terms of the performances, so I do think Kirk is
everyone's is good.
I think Shatner's a standout because he leaves nothing left of himself. He sort of gives it all. You can't help but admire it and be enthralled by it. It's like I don't know. That's my take. Okay, so but then McCoy and Bones and Scotty all very good. McCoy, when he had that little talk chat with Scotty in the hall, and you made a mention during that intro, Campbell, but like, man, his eyebrow is like for like a good solid.
I know.
I wonder. I mean, man,
it's such a skill. I wish I could do that.
You wondering if you have to work out beforehand? You have to relax afterwards of a cold compress.
He's got like fucking like pensive down like more than any other actor. He's got it painted on his face. It's crazy.
I mean, I don't want to be
like
one of
the
those
shirt.
assholes that says it, but it's a miracle to have Kelly and Nimoy both working on the same show. Like between them, probably the two greatest American sets of eyebrows ever.
Yes. Or you could also include Christian Slater post his little accident.
I mean,
okay,
fair enough.
He had fucked up eyebrows because he tried to be Spock.
I know, but like, that's an apocryphal story. But like all apocryphal stories that sound too good to be true. No, sorry, I said that wrong. But whatever, you know what I'm saying. Anyway,
Yeah,
I mean, we all tried to shave our eyebrows when we were younger, or not.
So anyway, I mean, actually, I guess I like the writing of the episode because the way that like Spock and McCoy respond to Captain Kirk losing his shit, it just gives you like confidence in the writers because the writers are sort of, you know, when Kirk sort of like says, okay, we're going here now. Spock's like, well, we should be going here. It makes more sense, kind of thing. And then Kirk's like, no, that's because we got to get her there like fast. And he's like, well, if we increase our speed, we can get into the other place fast, you know. And it's just sort of like it's logical that he's like questioning his like orders. And
so
then,
you're thinking of it from a sort of a mystery mechanism kind of like procedural standpoint, like there's stories check out, as it were.
Yeah, exactly. And then when McCoy you know is telling him that, you know, he has the power as the medical officer to like bring anyone in for like a medical exam. Although they've done it in other episodes, I like that. You know, it makes 100% sense that they have that. And I like the fact that like Kirk is threatening him, just the way he's threatening Spock, and both of them, you know, they're not even slightly concerned because like, well, procedure will back me up, you know, like we don't.
What annoyed me,
like, not even for a second is there any sort of like hint of if the captain loses his like shit, he can be like a petty dictator. It's like no, it's like the wheels fall off instantly because there's like protocols in place, everyone knows their rules, and there's just like no room. But
I also don't think. I mean, like, I agree that it's like there's it depicted a lot of mechanisms in place to hedge against that kind of crisis. But I also, I don't even necessarily agree that enough of them were depicted because let's not forget that, like, you know, it was initially when Spock finds out that the switcheroo has happened, you know, he tries to step in and like, you know, like do what's necessary in order to either remedy the situation, but basically de facto take command, right? And, you know, which would be a big thing, except he's the first officer. And like, you know, it should kind of be like the role of the first officer to question the captain, let alone the fact that like, if you can't get a clean psychological bill of health from the ship's physician, it should be like, that's it, you know? So it's like, but no one talked about like, you know, Bones never brought up the issue that like, you know, that he had the power to certify him as like, you know, not fit for duty. And like, regardless, obviously they did the physical part.
No, he did.
But Bones never once mentioned.
He did bring it up, but the problem was he had no physical evidence, therefore he couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I know, but that's bullshit. Well,
no, that's
because,
not
like,
bullshit.
obviously
that's
in the past.
How it works. Yeah.
No, because it's like obviously in instances in the past where physical evidence would have been required. It's nice that they brought up the whole spectral scan of his mind to compare it against
the problem was
previous model.
He has to be unsuited for command, and she was totally fucking sane. It just happened to be the wrong person, and he didn't catch that.
But how should there be no mechanism in place to account for someone's like wildly out of character behavior, you know, and irrational behavior that in itself is completely contrary to, you know, to their established persona up until that point, you know?
I again bring up the Enterprise incident, which I was not an episode I super loved.
but also that also didn't make sense.
But in that one, that one, Kirk specifically acts like insane to provide like evidence for the later story.
And in that instance, it was in a way successful in that like the entire ship turned against him, and he was like stopped in his tracks, basically. Yeah, like the mechanism. Yeah.
But like, he was able to take them into the neutral zone, and that's when everyone was like, "Well, what the fuck? Like, you know, what are you doing?" But yeah, so anyway, I like the writing. I thought it was mature. I thought it was good.
You mean you like the writing except for the whole women thing?
Yeah, but let's not forget he doesn't believe that. He just chooses to admit that thing entirely. So that hole that the rest of us see with it, he doesn't even take issue because he claims it doesn't exist.
Because I mean, Janice Lester, you know, had a medical exam when her mind was in Captain Kirk and everything checked out.
Totally sane woman.
Yeah, so apart from
if they were medically incapable, like hysteria levels would have been like, well, her hysteria levels are way too high. She's obviously not capable of doing
But meanwhile, the women was being sedated for no reason at all.
Yeah, I know.
And everyone was
but
fine
McCoy
with it.
was like, "There's no need."
Yeah, but
And
the nurse kept fucking doing it.
Yeah, I know because the captain said like he's take over this case.
Yeah. She's not a very good nurse.
Yeah.
But I mean, I had a final question about the whole episode. But I mean, obviously we know Rusy's thoughts going in, so it's like kind of defeats the purpose. But I guess I'll ask you, P, that like the whole thing, like the final question that they're debating basically about Dr. Lester, as they basically, so as the final switcheroo happens and she realizes she's foiled and she just basically crumbles and she's like, she just like, ordering the other person to kill him, which I thought was kind of like, it was greatly satisfying, from a dramatic point of view, incredibly undignified from a dramatic point of view, but like, so it's such a weird choice to think that like, up until recently, she was Dr. Lester was in that strong physical body, and yet she still didn't want to do anything physically herself. She wanted someone else to do it, which I thought was like an interesting interpretation of someone's idea of like.
It didn't make any sense because like she had apparently been responsible for murdering hundreds of thousands of people and.
Wait, was she? I thought it was just 3.
Or whatever, the whole planet, was it?
No, just a few other scientists.
Yeah, just a couple scientists.
Sorry, she killed a bunch of people.
There was a scientist.
A bunch technically qualifies, yeah.
All right, so she killed a bunch of people, and now she has qualms about it. I don't know. Maybe it's because it's Kirk and she still had feelings for him, but then ordering someone doesn't make sense because how does that change anything?
But the whole thing at the end,
don't,
what annoys me ultimately is is how it's treated, because like once it all breaks down, instead of being treated as someone who tried to basically stage tried to assume command of a Starfleet vessel and have several people murdered, at the end she's just like she's like crying and someone's like cradling her in their arms to like sort of console her, and she's kind of like shuffled off camera, kind of quietly, and it's like at the end of the day,
and executed.
She's not even afforded the agency of blame associated with her, And I think it's like it's like instead of being treated like the murderer she is, she's like they actually pity her for just like kind of being a pathetic woman, And it's like and they're like it's like they're there. It's like, well, you can't blame her, She was born a woman. What were you gonna do, And like subsequently
if they can't find a place in a peaceful society, we may pity them, but we will not dismiss them.
And the whole last line, where it's like,
or like again, as rich as any,
except, or if only, right? And it's like, and so how do you read that? And it's like, do you read it as if only she'd been born a man and not an unfortunate woman, or if only she'd been born with like an idea of her own?
If only she hadn't accepted her role in society.
Her own limitations, limitations of her station.
Know your place.
And inability to...
No, I would agree, her own limitations, but that doesn't have to mean because she was a woman. Like, her temperament just made her insane.
So is it...
She was fucking down.
Yeah, I mean, so,
we
can ignore what people said.
I don't
She obviously was not suited to the captaincy. She was like insane.
I mean, and yes, that's clear. And although it's debatable how much of that insanity she had since her Starfleet days, and how much of it developed subsequently in the interim of just like building up slowly over time.
We've talked about what the captain's log is, and now it's even more confusing because he has a captain's log.
Because what is she like? I've succeeded in taking over the Enterprise. Don't tell anyone.
Yeah.
I'll update you later.
I truly am me. I am
also
Kirk.
As Janice Lester, Captain Kirk as Janice Lester also has a captain's log. Yeah. It's like, well, fuck. If you've given that patient a captain's log status, that should be used in the trial to prove that it's still the captain.
Yeah, but the point is, when Spock gave his captain's log from that prehistoric ice world in the last episode, well, it wasn't a captain's log, but you don't want to talk about it. Or actually, I even forget. Was it Spock or was it Kirk? Yeah, Kirk gave his captain's log from the dungeon, And I think at that point, increasingly, we have to realize that it's just a thing in their mind. It doesn't really mean anything. It's just them like doing a Terry Wogan in the mirror, going, it's like Captain's log. I'm looking awesome today. I'll check in later. But yeah, it doesn't mean anything.
So yeah, I mean, the other thing about this episode, so other than it just being like uncomfortable because of the insanity. Some of the best lines by the secondary characters are said in this episode. So, for instance, Sulu saying, "I'll fight them any way and every way I can." I mean, call it trite, but that is the best line that he was given in 3 years. And Scotty's line is equally like among his best. Maybe Pop.
Yep.
Maybe when he calls them.
No, I totally agree. Those are the standouts for sure.
Yeah, they're good lines. So I mean, this third season, maybe they lost steam to a certain degree, but everyone was still putting in their full effort, I guess.
I mean, that's just it. It's like I do want to criticize it, and I do for huge and blatant reasons. But despite that, I have to give it its props where it's due, because it was exciting and it's like it still causes tension. But it always also makes me uncomfortable. And there are so many ways that Star Trek can entertain me without doing that. So it's like, I don't think it gets any points for going in a weird area on this one. And as previously quoted, we have absolutely diametrically opposing sociopolitical takes and readings of the inherent message of this episode, to which I can only I don't want to ascribe you status of like,
I don't even believe I have a sociopolitical take on this episode.
And that's what I've been trying to tell you for decades, Russi, and that's your fundamental problem. The fact that you have an ideology, but you're not aware of it. And hopefully one of these days I'll help you uncover what your own ideology is and help you realize how deeply horrible it is. And then the healing can begin.
Okay, fine. So let me go through some of my just random thoughts. Okay, so first of all, I know you guys are like, moi j'en veux, but she was the leader of the expedition. That's what it said of Janice Lester.
She was the what? Sorry?
She was the leader of the expedition.
Yeah.
Janice Lester was the leader.
That's not a dispute.
Expedition. Well, no, I'm just saying because you guys are maintaining women in command roles.
Look, you can do whatever you want. No, you can do whatever you want.
All we're saying is
she's just, you just can't trust her with a captaincy, a Starfleet command.
Women can't be captains. That is what the episode says. That is what the episode says outright, and no one except you is disputing that.
Well, I'm giving you more circumstantial evidence. Okay.
More circumstantial evidence.
Yeah. Well, yes, Campbell. That's right.
Forget what the writers, directors, producers, actors said.
Yeah.
No, but of course that stuff's irrelevant. Like, only a total jagwagon pays attention.
But I paid attention to the episode and came to that conclusion, and then everyone involved of it backed me up. You're the only one who's against it.
All of history and all of the audience thus far. You are basically the only outlier with this particular isolated view. And while you argue correctly that it is your right, it doesn't make you,
the line about the femininity really fucking stuck out. Like, man, that stuck to my craw. I was like, oof, I can't believe I know. That. Ouch.
And that's just it, right? Because it's like, and leaving Russi entirely out of this discussion at this point because he could be of no use to us. It does really, it astounds me that that's so present in so many episodes leading up to this. They were so specific and articulate about their message of like, all walks of life, all genders, all races, all religions. It's like everyone, no matter who they are, unless they're women, is basically the ultimate message, And it's like, and I thought it was such a weird, lack of imagination to stipulate that.
It does follow society. Like, generally speaking, race gets ahead of women. Like civil rights. I think
Obama versus Hillary. Yeah, I guess you're right. History stands.
And I think even like black men had the vote before women had the vote. Right. I know at the Royal Canadian Yacht Club.
Well, let's not use yacht clubs as an example, but go on.
But I love it. I love this story because there's this old guy who'd been there from like forever who's telling me, and he was sort of like unapologetic, but like different times. Type of thing.
The place has gone downhill since they allowed bronze. He was like,
they voted to allow dogs on the island before they allowed women on the island.
Oh my God.
And I was like, that is particularly amazing thing to hear. Yeah. But anyways,
and that's just it. Yeah.
It fits.
And that's just it. We have to come to terms with the shameful limitations of ideologies of the past, and if we completely erase them from existence and pretend they weren't the case, like Rusi seems to do, it seems to sidestep any possible issue of like advancement or revolution on the issue. But what was the but like you said, it seems like such a fundamental failing of imagination to think that they just would have this archaic rule, and it's like, but not even discussed,
and it's so unnecessary.
Not even justified.
Like Rusi could have been right. They could have just made her crazy, but they had to specifically add all this anti-feminine stuff just to fuck it up.
Just to put push the meter over.
There's like 4 lines that if they were removed from this episode, and it would suddenly be entirely palatable. But because those lines are there, you just find yourself going, "Fuck."
And it's like, and there's so many things that could have been used, writing wise, to like deflect or diffuse or or solve the issue.
It's entirely there. Like, you could have made a crazy person, made him a man or whatever. Like, it's fine. It's totally doable. They just didn't. They removed the gender shit, and it would have been wonderful. Well, not wonderful.
And I guess I understand why. I mean, okay, without excusing or condoning the specific rationales for the universe they created, like, I can see what they wanted to depict in terms of like a power struggle thing, and like some kind of toxic relationship with Kirk, because that in itself is like a nice meaty idea that's juicy, But the way they chose to execute it, and like even going back, the other thing I was thinking about was like even if you went back to like old naval tradition, and it's like if for some reason, it's like, oh, it's like women aren't allowed on this ship, it's bad luck, for the same reason that they used to keep cats on ships, there's like some kind of weird. I don't know.
The cats fucking hunted the mice that was eating their food. Like, keeping cats on ship is an entirely rational thing to do.
Okay, yes, but it's also superstition.
We have a problem with.
It can be both.
Our food.
It can be both things.
How do we solve this problem? You bring a cat.
All right, fine. All right, so that was not the best example, it turns out. But anyway.
All right, let me give you some notes.
All right.
Okay. So on the you guys might be right, this is anti-feminist.
Oh my god!
I did find it weird. That that when they first see her, he tells her, like, please be quiet. Those are doctor's orders. I can't tell what the story is with that. Like, is it because she's crazy town? Is it because like they act as though there's like a threat on the thing, and maybe that's why everyone has to be quiet? Anyway.
No, it's just the thing that like women are supposed to be suppressed in all of their leanings, because it's like they just don't contribute helpful things, and that's why they should just like be disregarded and muffled and silenced.
Okay, fine. Okay.
Sublimated, oppressed, if you will.
Okay, fine. And then one of the things I liked, one of the lines I liked, was when they were discussing like how their schedules wouldn't have worked like if they'd stayed together. Kirk referred to
I don't think it was specifically a matter of schedules, but go on.
Whatever. Kirk referred to her space work. And it just sounds so generic. It's like, I was gonna be doing space gym, and you had your space work.
Okay, no, yeah, Rusi does raise a good news radio point.
I have no idea what you do. Oh yes, news radio. Fantastic episode.
But like what was the other thing? Yeah, and that was my other contention with like again, working under the assumption as I am that it was because of rules that she wasn't allowed to be captain, because it was clear that's what Janice. Okay, half being a captain, her ambition, and also half specifically being James T. Kirk. So that's like a weird psychosexual thing that is like I won't bother getting into in this particular instance. But like, but the point is, I thought it was weird that.
Sympathize with wanting to be Captain Kirk.
I mean, again, not dwelling on that because that's not what I want to. Anyway, but my point is, it's like it seems so weird to me that again, because of she wasn't able to meet 100% of her ambition to be a Starfleet captain, she would just like eschew to like abandon Starfleet entirely and become like, presumably like, a civilian on this scientific expedition, like as opposed to like staying with Starfleet and rising, the ranks in some. But again, I don't know what the system is. I don't know how it works. because they never explained, and I still have numerous questions. But I just thought it was weird that she didn't bother to stay in Starfleet if she really wanted to be aboard a starship that much, you know. Anyway, that was my question. What do you think about that, Rizzy?
Yeah, you're right. She should have stayed in Starfleet for sure.
Anyway, I just think it's bad writing.
Yes.
And such a sour note. Well, I mean, obviously you disagree. So you for real think this is a good, enjoyable episode? And by you, I mean Rizzy. All right, so
no, there are enjoyable parts to it. Yeah, I like. There's lots of
absolutely.
Enjoyable parts.
There's parts
you
have to sort of cut out to be like fun. But,
that's just it. Yeah, it's true. Those
like the very
it's got some big.
The bit where she first comes over the ship, those parts are like. Oh yeah, and then when Kirk like flat out beats the shit out of her, and everyone's just like cool with it, or like the security guard to her, and you're like, okay.
It was, it's true. It's like the fact that wasn't like a big.
They're not cool with that at all. Like Bones is like.
I like his reaction.
No,
Jim.
The security guard.
Yeah. Jim, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah.
It was. I liked his acting because it was like it seemed. Yeah, he gave a suitably intense reaction. Yeah, and I don't know. I'm very acutely aware of that kind of authoritarian voice shouting at me, telling me I'm doing something wrong. So when Boat said Jim, I immediately got self-conscious and thought I was doing something wrong.
I thought they did an okay job of sort of like trying to understand what a woman like Janice Lester might be thinking. So like when she like comes on board and she as Kirk, she's like, yeah, I was involved with that woman. I ended it. I feel really bad about it. And McCoy's
you think they did a good job writing someone pretending to be Captain Kirk?
No. Wait, because she brought up the relationship and brought up like, how bad Kirk, was and should feel for dumping her kind of thing. And McCoy's like, you're sure you were young. And then she's like, youth doesn't excuse everything. So it's good. It's like sort of showing like, that she's, I guess, how she would feel about that whole thing. Let's see.
It's weird that we're just like staring at the ceiling above you, but it's quite disorienting. You need to rig up a harness next time.
I mean, most of my notes are just about like all the crazy lines that Kirk says as Janice Lester.
You mean a lot? You mean that one that Tuffy always misquotes?
Go to your post. You mean that one?
No, that's the one that you always say.
Deliberate, insane at its base.
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
Yeah, Tuffy loves that one. I mean,
the
Tuffy also
one
loves
is good.
the
Yeah.
But that again, that just goes to show because every time I heard those Kirk lines, I heard them in your voice. So it's like that's particularly freaky. And then I don't know, it just goes to show something about this friendship dynamic over time has been severely off.
But yeah, so I love a lot of those lines. I also like the fact that as he's like barking out orders, he's like prepare for execution, as though there's like a procedure for it.
Yeah, exactly. I had a lot of questions about that too.
Yeah, and also when he says that he says interment will take place on Benicia. What is he talking about? Is he talking about
the burial? He's talking about the burial of the bodies of the people they kill.
I thought he was saying internment, not interment.
No, I understand. Yes.
I see. Okay. Oh,
and I think there was probably supposed to be like why did he want so much to get to? Why did she want so much to get to Benicia Colony? It's like that was somehow part of her plan, but it was never made. It's never explained or never made clear.
I think she just said like, well, let's stay the course wherever we're going, and Spock's like, well, no.
No, but they weren't going there. Their plan was to meet up with the Potemkin on Auriga, whatever.
Yeah, maybe she had a plan. I don't know.
I do.
I guess that's it. That's all I got.
Well, if that's all you got. I mean, just keep in mind. Consider this. This is the last time you get to express your thoughts on Star Trek, the original series as a whole.
I also like it when he says that.
I mean, as did I. Yes, if only because it's like and like we've seen with the season, it's nice. It's nice to see the Star Trek characters do things unlike them. It's nice to see them step out of their boxes and kind of like cut loose as it were. But it's also weird seeing Shatner like that. It's creepy.
Yeah, and I guess I like the Spock scenes because being composed when someone is belligerent and like yelling hysterically at you is like it feels like especially brave. So I think as a fan of Spock, you're like oh fuck, this is awesome. This is how a person should react, like with cold, amazing put downs in the face of like somebody who's red faced with hysteria. Which is another good line in this episode when Scotty's like, I've seen him, drunk, boiling mad, but I've never seen him red faced with hysteria.
Ooh, good timing. Now that I got this nice red underlighting. It occurs to me all this time I could have had dramatic underlighting, and I never took advantage of it.
Well, it's too late now.
Yeah, switch it up.
It's too late now.
Actually,
no, it's not too late. No!
He's like,
that's just
isn't season 3 where Shatner gets a little bit chubby?
I mean,
well, this is it.
With his shirt off.
Yes, but even that, right? You know, I know this chronologically wasn't necessarily the last episode to shoot, but you have to figure that was 100% Shatner. That was like he felt self-conscious after in previous episodes they had called for him to adopt the girdle, so he was like, all right, I've been working out, I've been running through like the fucking Laurel Canyon or whatever. I'm like, I'm trimmed down. Yeah. Let's go. Let's do like one final pictorial shot, and we'll use that
they did
upside down machine.
And they did that standard thing where they like praised Kirk for being such a perfect physical specimen. But,
yeah, I like it when they do that.
Yeah, like McCoy. I love when
if you say so.
He's like, everything's running at its normal peak of efficiency, and he's like, your heart will last forever. But there is something prescient about that, because look at Shatner now. He's fucking 90, and he looks like he's 60.
Yeah, thanks, Rizzy. Don't remind us.
He looks great.
Yeah, he does have fantastic physical strength and form.
I mean,
he'll outlive us all.
I don't know. We all knew it would end this way. He's probably going to be the last of the cast to die. It's going to be some kind of weird inverse. No, I can't think of a. It's not quite like the Beatles, but it's just. I don't know. I don't want to be outright on the record saying, the wrong cast member died, but unofficially, that's obviously definitely how I feel.
All right. Let's not wish death on anybody.
No, I didn't say no. I'm not wishing death. Just having wished historical death.
Right.
That's entirely different.
All right. This is the last episode.
Yeah. So after this, so Risi, what do you think? Should we do the animated series? It'll have to be a different format.
Jesus fuck no.
All right. So what does that mean then?
I'm curious because I have seen like one episode and I was like, holy shit, it's the original voices. So I'm a little.
There you go. Yeah. So Risi, how much of the original series have you seen? The animated series have you seen?
Yeah, well, you know the answer to this question. I have not seen any of the animated series.
I mean, I know the last time I asked you, but I expected you to have. I mean, you could at least lie. Come on, it's not that hard. It's Star Trek. I thought you liked Star Trek.
We should do a live reaction of Rusi watching one episode of the show and seeing how much he hates it.
I mean,
I think I probably will enjoy it. But yeah, so Campbell, when COVID allows us, let's get together and let's watch some fucking animated shows together.
All right,
we'll do that.
All right, I mean,
in the meantime, do we want to do an episode 1 of TNG?
Oh, I mean, I assume we would just go through it sequentially or historically. But I mean, we could do whatever. We could jump to the movies. We could
do the movies. The movies are like just us going about how amazing they are, though. Like, there's a few bad things to say about them.
If that's what it becomes, then so be it. And maybe that'll be entertaining.
Also,
maybe
I refuse to watch the first one again. I saw that 20-minute Tron Legacy soundtrack version, which was still too fucking long.
Still interminable.
It still took way too long.
I mean, I don't want to be the one to say it, D, but extended. For your insolence, that means for your reticence alone, that means as a mission, we all have to rewatch. Not just the motion picture, but the extended version of the motion picture.
There's an extended version of like even more exterior shots of the Enterprise.
Yeah, damn straight. And hopefully director's commentary. But yeah. But I guess we'll determine that to be determined in the future.
All right, we'll discuss in the future.
and I'll
So for
try
now-
and slowly wrestle Rusi to the side of the animated series.
We should do an episode where we do a recap of the series.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, and I don't know what that means, but yeah, I'm down. Rusi, how about you?
Yeah. I'm down with that for sure. Like, I mean, you know,
So like a final cue judgment of like the whole original series as a gestalt.
Yes, I would like that because you can get bogged down a little bit in the third season, and it can sap some of the
Will to live.
Yeah, well, no, Campbell. Some of the massive amounts of like energy and you know power that you get from watching Star Trek. So it's definitely we want to leave like where we go over some of the beautiful things, you know.
I mean, we definitely have to compare notes, but ultimately, I don't know. I think we may have lost sight of the original mission, and hopefully, we'll be able to narrowly focus in on what that was, and I think we can all agree addressing Rusi's long-standing father issues, but to be continued in the future.
Right,
That's a little bit of projection there, I think. All right.
Okay.
Let's do it.
All right. Good G. I'll talk to you guys later.
All right, power down the generator. It's an undignified.
You! What planet is this? You! What planet is this? What planet is this? You! What planet is this?
I'm a surgeon, not a psychiatrist.
What planet is this? You're not of the body. No. What planet is this? You're not of the body. What planet is this? You're not of the body. You're not of the body.
I'm a surgeon, not a psychiatrist.
What planet is this? No. What planet is this?
I'm a surgeon, not a psychiatrist.